All right. Well, welcome to the DFL Before DNF podcast. I'm stoked to have Michael McKnight here with us today. Many of my audience, much of my audience, already knows Michael is an admirer of his, but I think that if you've watched the documentaries, if you've followed his Triple Crown efforts, his ambitious 2024 race calendar, that you're already inspired. But that's why I think it's even cooler for someone like me who's out seeking wisdom from these people who've had noteworthy finishes. And to me, noteworthy is simply finishing 100-miler at any distance or at any time. And then to get people who can come out in the front of the pack on that, I just think there's a lot of wisdom to be gleaned from that. And so that's why I'm stoked to have Michael here. Michael, thank you for joining us. It's a real honor.
You're welcome. Thanks for the invite. I'm happy to be here.
So before we jump in on some of the running specific stuff, I've caught glimpses of your stories from documentaries and from Instagram, but can you kind of give us the overview? Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Yeah, so I'm up in the Logan, Utah area, just north of Salt Lake, right on the Idaho-Utah border. And I essentially grew up, this area is called Cache Valley. It consists of like 15 to 25 small towns.
Nice.
So yeah, it reminds me a lot of like the Boulder, Colorado area in terms of how it looks. But yeah, so I've essentially grown up here my whole life. I moved to Denver for a very short time period when I used to work for Ultra Footwear. But then I quit that job just because I didn't like Denver and came right back to Logan.
So are you in a farming community, ranching?
I grew up on a dairy farm, and Cache Valley does have a lot of dairy farms for sure.
Yeah. And any connection with Utah State University up there? I mean, that's what I know that area for, like at least Cache Valley.
Yeah, I mean, the only connection is I got my bachelor's degree there.
Oh, that's a pretty good connection. What'd you study?
Yeah. Social work. Yeah.
Nice.
So, and I found that because my profession now is a coach, and I found that I feel like a lot of what I do revolves around social work with coaching.
Yeah, I talked to Jesse Rich. I don't know if you know Jesse.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting to hear from him that he, when you're digging in on a nutrition level with somebody, there's some real like counseling. And he was quick to say, if it's serious stuff, I defer to a counselor. But like if you're getting into like food habits and stuff like that, like that's connected to some pretty deep stuff. I could imagine social work degree comes in handy with that.
Yeah, and just in general, I feel like most endurance athletes have some form of trauma that they're either working through or have worked through. So it's yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I had a buddy who kind of just made note that I often talk about trail running. Like my journey in trail running is working through my demons. And I always thought of it as an expression. He's like, hey, have you ever considered that that may not be an expression, that might be real for you? I thought, you know what? That could be true. I mean, to put ourselves through what we put ourselves through, that's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if you know much about the term like disassociation.
A little bit.
Yeah. Where essentially you kind of disconnect from your mind from your body.
Okay.
It's like a coping habit a lot of people experience when they've had trauma through their life. And I think, at least in my experience, I feel like that's why endurance athletes are so good at just pushing through pain.
Oh, interesting.
Some form of disassociation that's going on there through potential trauma that they've worked through or are currently working through.
Interesting. My dad was a therapist, and he worked with something called EMDR. I don't know if you've heard of that. And he was one of the first people to bring it to Texas in the early 90s where I grew up. And always working through trauma. Like it was like the dinner table discussion. But yeah, I think, it's interesting to see like ultra runners leverage that into, at least on some, like on a micro level, leveraging it into success on the trail. But I mean, ultimately, I think what we want for humanity is more whole humans.
Yep.
And, maybe that lessens the performance on the trail, but makes them a more whole person. And I think maybe that's what some of us are looking for out there.
Yeah. Life is not just about running. There's a lot more to life.
Yeah. So you went to Denver, you were with Ultra. One of the things I love about your story, I'd love to, get you to touch on it, is you didn't think of yourself as a runner growing up. You weren't a runner growing up. You discovered a little bit later. Can you talk a little bit about that journey from not being a runner to becoming a runner?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I did run when I was between my freshman and sophomore year to lose weight. And then once I did lose weight, I stopped. I did do football, and
Okay.
I wasn't good at it. I
What
rode the
position?
bench, defensive end.
Okay.
Um, but I rode the bench most of the year. But they did require us to do track if we were on the football team,
Okay.
and so I did run in high school, but I didn't enjoy it. So as soon as high school was over, I quit. And then I served a 2-year mission for my church.
Where
Came
at?
home, Toronto, Canada.
Okay. So you didn't pick up a new language, or do they speak French? Or that's Quebec.
That is Quebec. Well, actually, so I did speak English, but my mission had it was either 7 or 8 different languages
No way.
because Toronto is such a melting pot. It's a very
Okay.
diverse place. Like we had some missionaries who spoke Farsi. There was
Whoa.
Korean. There was Mandarin. There was Cantonese. Like there was
Okay.
everything where I was.
But you stayed in
Um,
English.
I stayed in English, yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, so then I came home and I came home just after the semester started at Utah State. So basically,
Okay.
I had 4 to 5 months of not really anything to do. So I
Hmm.
just started running to get into like I was trying to get like a routine going for myself in
What year would that have been?
2012.
Okay.
Or no, sorry, 2011. Um, so yeah, so I just started running, developed good habits, and I ended up starting to like it at that point. I don't know if it's just because I was a little bit older
Yeah.
or whatever. And then most of the people who know me know that about a year after I got home from my mission, I broke my back in a skiing accident.
Mm. Yeah.
And the diagnosis or the prognosis, I always get those two words mixed up, but basically I was told I'd be in bed for months and that I shouldn't even consider running for about a year. Um, and the recovery went by just so much faster than the doctor said it would. And so
I apologize.
basically,
I lost you there for a second. I lost you at the word prognosis, and now you're back. I'm sorry about that. Can you start back there?
oh yeah. So yeah, I don't know the
Thanks.
difference between prognosis, diagnosis, but
I only know. I don't know if you're a Seinfeld guy, but there was an episode, and this is maybe over your head, over your age. But prognosis negative. I don't know. There's going to be like 5 people that know that reference. Anyway, you're
no,
good.
I don't know it.
Okay.
But basically, he told me I'd be in bed for a long time. I shouldn't consider running for about a year.
Hmm.
So I dropped out of college. I lost my job. Long story short, I
Wow.
recovered really fast. Started running. It was about 3.5, 4 weeks after my surgery. And
Wow.
so, because I had no school, I had no job, I just started running 10 plus miles a day. And that's kind of what. Do you know who Cody Draper is?
Mm-hmm. I know the name.
So, yeah, he's the race director of the Bear 100,
Oh yeah, yeah. That's why.
local 100 up here.
Yep.
Uh, so, I actually ended up getting a new job as basically a janitor at an engineering company. And I met Cody there. Somebody knew I liked to run, introduced me to Cody, and Cody is essentially the one that told me about the world of ultra running. And
Oh wow.
so that's kind of how it all started.
Wow. And then you were in the world of ultra running, and then you get a job at Ultra. Was that what was the connection there?
Yeah, so Cody, because he was such a big time runner, he was friends with the co-founder Brian Beckstead.
Mm-hmm.
And there was just a group run we did once where Brian was there. I met him, we chatted. He found out that I was the sample size for like their testers. And so
Oh,
he started
interesting.
giving me shoes to test for them, and
Nice.
um, then gave me a job in customer service. And it just all worked out because right when I graduated with my degree, they had a new opening up as a sports marketing manager.
Oh,
And then even though my degree wasn't in marketing, obviously it was social work.
yeah.
Brian offered me that position, and I was like, what do you expect me to do? I don't know nothing. I don't know anything about marketing.
Right.
And he just essentially said, you're a trail runner. You test the shoes. That's all I care about. You'll figure it out. And then that's how it all, I was with them for 4 to 5 years. It was an
Oh,
awesome
dang.
job.
Okay. And then did you jump ship from Ultra to go all in on running? Like by that time, you probably had you already won the Triple Crown by that point?
So it's kind of interesting. So we got bought and relocated the year that I won
Mm,
all 3 of the 200s of the
okay.
Triple Crown. So this was 2019.
Hmm.
And they moved to Denver that summer, but they let me. Did you lose me again?
Nope. No, I got you.
Oh, sorry.
You
They
good.
moved to Denver that summer, and they let me stay until that fall because of the Triple Crown. And so I moved from Utah to Denver between Tahoe 200 and Moab 200. Um, went out, did Moab, won Moab, came back, and I just, the vibes at Ultra when they were here in Utah, it
Yeah.
was like show up at 10, leave at 4, go for a
Right.
2-hour run together at lunch. Like as long as you're getting your job done, it was
Yeah.
so
Right.
laid back.
Yep.
But then once we got to Denver, it turned corporate really fast, and I learned that that's not the kind of job I
What
cared
you
for.
wanted.
So I quit before I had a job even lined up, just because I didn't like being in Denver and just because I felt things were changing too fast. So
Yeah. Yeah.
no, I didn't have anything to do when I quit there. It was kind of a leap of faith.
That's awesome. So I,
Yeah.
you first came on my radar. I was starting to hear your name some, but then I think it was 2018 at Zion. And what I love about certain races is also the same thing I hate about certain races is that there's sometimes these long out and backs or these lollipop things that
Oh yeah.
the slow the slower runners are entering into this spot, and the first place people are coming around and they're exiting it. So they're no less than 15 miles ahead. And I can't remember which mesa I was going up, but you were coming down, clearly looking very fresh. And I think I was at mile like 60 something. But afterwards, come to find out that was you. And I think you got like 18 hours or like just under 18 hours, I think,
What year
and
was
you won
this?
it. I think it was 2018. I've run it 17,
2018.
18, 19, but whatever year you won it.
Oh yeah. So that actually that year I did it. It was 16:56.
Okay, so just under 17. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did it in 28 hours. So you were 12 hours ahead of me. That's the only finish I got. But I just remember seeing you come down thinking, how in the hell does that guy look so fresh? That many miles ahead of me. But then, then started to follow after that. So then it sounds like the next year was the Triple Crown year. And so you were sort of starting this ascent in terms of incredible accomplishments. And then what year was Colorado FKT, the Colorado Trail FKT?
2020.
Okay, man, just so 1 year after. Not that Zion is up there. I love Zion. I know, but Zion was like that, the ground floor, Triple Crown, Colorado FKT.
Yeah.
And this year you've got some pretty cool ambition in place.
Yeah, and then also the Divide 200 as
Oh,
well. It's
I
a
didn't
new
see
one
it.
up in Canada.
Where's that one at?
It's in the Rockies of Canada.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, how did you? I mean, did you just one day sign up for a 200 and discover that you have that you like it? I mean, how did you get into the 200 scene? You were a little bit earlier. I mean, now it feels like it's exploding. But that Triple Crown year, I mean, it was still plenty of people. I don't know. Candace Burt's always had waiting lists, and she's great at marketing and putting on a good event. How did you find out that was for you? You just went for it?
Yes, I mean, I did the Triple Crown in 2017 as well. I don't know, a lot
Okay.
of people, I don't know if they realize that or not, but that I basically just did Bigfoot in 2017 to see if I could do it, and that was the first ever year of there being a Triple Crown. And so
Okay.
after I did Bigfoot, I still I signed up for Tahoe and Moab like a week after finishing Bigfoot, just because Bigfoot went so wrong, and I wanted to see if I could do better.
Wanted to fix it.
Yeah, I wanted to fix it, but all three of those races ended up pretty terrible. I just had a lot of issues, but I still got like the overall win for the Triple Crown that year in
Okay, that's what.
2017.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, I mean, it wasn't much longer after that. I was like, okay, I'm going to take a year off, which was 2018, the year that I did Zion. I'm going to take 2018 off, and then in 2019, I'm going to come back and do the triple again, just because like I had so much go wrong. I just want to see how much better I can do if I try to figure out how to fix what went wrong. And so I had no intention. Like my only goal that year was to. So in 2017, I finished Bigfoot in 72 hours. Tahoe was 67 hours, and Moab was 68 hours. And so my goal is just to try to go sub 60 for all three of those
Okay.
races in 2019. And then I just happened to win all three that year. Like I had the only race I wanted to win that
That's
year
right.
was Moab, just
Yeah.
because that was like, okay, I've won Bigfoot, I've won Tahoe, I got to try to win this one too. But
Yeah.
like Bigfoot and Tahoe, I had no intentions of winning it. I was just trying to better myself. So that's
Yes.
kind of what happened. Like I just tried seeing what I could do, found out that I was like that was the distance that I do best at, and so now
Yeah.
that's kind of the distance I focus on.
Yeah. And okay, so that's important to call this out. That's what, because I remember 2017 sounds familiar. Now I remember what was unique about 2019, that you won the Triple Crown, but you got first place in each race. So you said
Correct.
that, you glazed over. I just wanted to call that out, like how special of a year that was.
And I did get some form of course record at each race too that year. Wait, maybe I didn't. I don't remember if I did at Moab, but I did at Bigfoot and I did at Tahoe.
Nice.
Yeah. So,
Are
but
they
yeah, it was
still
a big
standing?
year. Bigfoot is so when I say some form,
Yeah.
um, so Candace, I don't know if she still does it. Well, she can't because it's not a loop right now because of the course got destroyed by a fire.
Oh, okay.
But when she was doing the loop at Tahoe, I think it was every 5 years, she would reverse directions.
Mm,
And so Kyle Curtin, the year Kyle Curtin and Courtney DeWalter raced Tahoe, and Kyle beat Courtney by like 20 minutes or something.
yeah.
That was the year that she reversed the loop.
Okay.
Kyle ran it in 49 hours and something minutes. The next year I won it, it was the normal way, and I
Mm.
did it in 50 hours. So I have the course record for the normal way, but for like overall, like fastest person to run the Tahoe 200, Kyle Curtin still has it, but it was in the opposite direction.
I see. Yeah, yeah, that matters. I mean, that's hard rock vibes, as well.
Yeah,
Like people having records in one direction, not in the other.
yeah. And then Moab, I
Um,
do have the snow route course record. Um, in 2021, I ran it, and there was a snow. That was the year that the DC Peaks had to like rescue everybody off the mountain. You know that race in Salt Lake.
oh, sorry, I lost you there. You said in 2021.
In 2021, I ran Moab again, but it was a snow year.
Okay.
She had to alter the course a little bit, and so I
Yes,
ran
I
in.
remember that.
I have the course record for that route, but for the actual normal route, Jeff Browning has it
Okay. Did he just get it?
in
Was it
2022.
twin? Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, and on some levels, this transitions nicely. That my story is, I love the 100 miler. I mean, I love it. I love the 200 miler. And I interviewed Candace recently, and she was trying to sell me that on, even though I haven't had successful 100 mile attempts, that I just need to jump from the 100 to the 200. But I've tried 8 times and I've finished once. And there's a story on all of them, and maybe some of the reasons are justified and some of them aren't. Ultimately, my consistent issue is mental weakness, and so this is something that I'm working on. But the wisdom that I'm seeking, even from you specifically, I mean, the look on your face that is captured on photos sometimes, late race, like, or even the Colorado, that great documentary of the Colorado FKT. The look on your face is that like you're done, like you're over it, and then you stand up and go. You know what I mean? When I
Yeah.
get that look, it's legit over. So what I'm curious about, and you can take this any angle that you want, but it's a very broad, very general question, but how do you keep going
Yeah.
when you're in that space? How do you get up and keep going?
Yeah. This is a deep question. um, I mean, one of the things, and I know that not everybody can do this, but I honestly believe a lot of that comes from just growing up on a dairy farm,
Mm.
because I had that face a lot on the dairy farm. Like being up at 2:30 in the morning after being
Yeah.
out till midnight with my friends, like the last thing I wanted to be doing was milking the cows, feeding the calves,
Mm.
moving pipe, hauling hay.
Oh, that's
But
good. Yeah.
so I just grew up with having that face from just being tired and wasted, but just like, well, this is my life, so I got to
Mm.
do it. So I think a lot of that mental, I don't want to say toughness, just mental like acceptance
Yeah.
is just like accepting like this is just how it is right now. I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I hurt, but I just got to get the job done, so I'm going to keep going. So I
Hmm.
think just accepting it is a big part of it. um, but for me too, and again, this is like, I have these conversations a lot with the people that I coach,
Yeah.
just talking about the why and what are you going to do when you hit mile 80 of a 100 and you're
Mm-hmm.
done. Like, how are you going to get through it? Like, that's got to come from within. It doesn't matter what I do.
Yeah.
But for me, like, I go back to when I broke my back.
Mm.
And I mean, when I broke it, I was up on a mountain, a local ski resort. So by the time the ambulance got me, drove me back to the hospital, like I had a few hours to reflect. And
Yeah.
I had a lot of concerns that, you know, like being paralyzed was on my mind.
I
Um,
bet.
so being in that state and then being told by the doctor, like, hey, you have to stay in bed for up to a year, you can't run, like all that stuff, like being in that position,
Hmm.
like has kind of changed
The
my
doctor said
outlook.
a year.
Well, he told me I'd be in bed for half a year roughly, but I
Okay.
couldn't run for a year.
And then to recall earlier in the interview, did you say you were running 3 to 4 weeks later?
Yes.
Okay. Just
Yeah.
just want to call that out. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. um, so yeah, being in that position, I'm just like, whenever I'm out there suffering, I try remembering all those feelings, try
Mm.
remembering like being in a spot where I was concerned about being paralyzed, never being able to walk again, and then being told I couldn't run for up to a year. Not
Mm.
good feelings. And so I just try reminding myself, like, yeah, it sucks. I'm in a lot of pain right now,
Yeah.
but I would much rather deal with this kind of pain and go
Mm.
run 500 miles and try to set a record on the Colorado Trail than
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
laid up in bed and like,
Hmm.
essentially choosing what kind of pain I want to be in. Like,
Is there an element of like is that coming from a position of gratitude in some ways?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, just because like I've said this a lot in podcasts, but I feel like, and I don't have anything against gamers. Like me and my friend played Halo last night, like
Yeah.
Halo Online with each other. I love playing Xbox, but
Mm-hmm.
I always told myself, like, after being through that with how quickly I recovered, it would
Yeah.
be pretty sad if I just like lived a life where I worked
Hmm.
at a desk from 8 to 5 and like just really didn't push my limits. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a form of gratitude, essentially, like being able to be in a position where I can go run 500 miles when a lot of people can't from a
Yeah.
physical standpoint. Like I'm going to try to lean into that and just, embrace the suffering.
Yeah. And you've been doing, let's see, on Instagram, a lot of strength training lately. Is that, I mean, obviously it's useful in your ultra goals. Is that because of your ultra running goals, or have you just started to enjoy, weight training?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
I've been strength training for 4 or 5 years now with running,
Mm-hmm.
but it's been very like 2 to 3 days a week, mostly
Yeah.
body weight or light dumbbells, like hit
Yeah.
type workouts. So this past year is the first year I've really leaned into like the heavy weightlifting.
Mm-hmm.
And I have like I enjoy it a lot. Like I almost like it more than running right now. um,
Do you get like a
but
high off that? Like I've never really done that. Does it give you a similar, is there like a runner's high, like for weight training?
I mean, I'm gonna sound like a bro right now, but I'm sure you've heard the phrase like the pump.
Yeah. I heard some seniors say it when I was in high school that played football.
Yeah, like it's essentially the runner's high of lifting.
Mm,
Like just
okay.
your body just feel like, so yeah, there is an addictive like feeling you get while you're at the gym. But
Yeah.
I mean, I just feel so much like healthier. Like,
Mm,
if I go run 10 to 15 miles at tempo pace, like, my hips might be a little bit sore throughout the day and like my legs
yeah.
are achy. Like when
Yeah.
I lift weights, I don't get that achy feeling. I just feel like strong and durable. Like it feels good overall. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Is the upper body weight that you're building, are you finding it useful for your ultra running?
I don't know about the upper body weight. If anything,
Yeah.
maybe my shoulders just for carrying heavy packs at a 200.
Yeah. I think about that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I do a lot of lower body stuff at the gym, deadlifts, squats, single leg squats. So, I mean, it's kind of an experiment, but I mean, in my head, like when you're doing a 200, any ultra, but especially a 200, you're going to burn through your glycogen, your fat, and then you also are like, your body's eating away its own muscle at some point. I mean,
Yeah.
you're running 2+ days and not eating that much. And
Mm.
so in my head, I'm just like, now obviously I don't want to look like, Hulk Hogan or
Sure.
anything like that. But like in my
Yeah.
mind, like if I can build up a little bit more muscle,
Hmm.
then my body should be able to last a little bit longer because I have more muscle to wither away essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Michael, I want to honor your time. I know you're a busy coach and you're training for like 7,000 miles of racing this year, but I would love sometime to hear more your take on raw milk, especially growing up on a dairy farm. I know that's something that matters to you, among other things. So I appreciate your time today, your insight, your wisdom. It'd be fun to watch you this year. If there's ever anything Borderlands can do to support you and what you're doing, don't hesitate to reach out. But I'd love to talk more sometime.
Yeah, let's get another time set up.
All right,
Appreciate
dude. Hey,
that.
I'll put all of your stuff in the show notes, and people can find you if they don't already know where you're at.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you.